Hello, my name is Kern, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Arena deck guide. Today I have something a little bit different for you. I'm going to do a deck tech. It's going to be focused a little bit on deck design, in addition to playing and explaining deck. What we have here is a blue-white tempo deck that is inspired by a conversation that I was having on Reddit earlier today. And I made my own list and my own attempt at this, so I thought I would make a video about it and give it a shot and kind of explain what the considerations are here for tempo, and especially for blue-white tempo here in the meta, and then maybe adjust this list as we play a little bit. Should be pretty fun. So the thing about two-color tempo right now is that we don't have check lands, which really matters to tempo. Like if you're playing a list like this that has 22 lands, it's a big deal to have to play stuff like Temple of Enlightenment in order to color fix. You can't really play Fabled Passage because you're not going to consistently enough have a fourth land out on the field. So the times that it helps you color fix versus the times that it disables you to play a quench on time, for instance, doesn't really make up for it, in my experience. Now you could run more lands and run a bit slower of a tempo deck, which seems like very counterintuitive, but it is maybe possible in order to turn on cards like Fabled Passage. But we're just going to run with this for now. So that's one of the challenges. Multicolored is a challenge because of the land base. Another challenge is we lost a lot of our good protection spells. So, before we had Dive Down. Let me just turn this to Historic so we can see this. We had Dive Down, which was a 1-mana hexproof. We had Spell Pierce, which was a 1-mana counter spell. And we also had Siren Storm Tamer, which was also a 1-mana counterspell that could help protect a thing. So we had a lot of protection going on for us before in mono blue. We don't really have that anymore. That doesn't mean you have to have it. You don't have to have that in tempo, but you do need to check up your strategy. If you've seen my other Is at Tempo list, and if you haven't seen that video yet, I'd suggest you checking that out because it's pretty cool. You would know that there's other ways. Like you don't need creature protection apart from your normal counterspells in order to really go off, as long as you have some different strategy. This was necessary in mono blue because it played big threats that needed protecting. But it's not necessarily if you're playing a more aggressive strategy, for example, that just wants to put down a 2/2 flyer with haste for 2 mana. Then it's like, okay, cool. We don't need to protect that threat. It's going to deal 2 damage, and if it gets removed, then that's okay. We'll live. In mono blue, not so much. If there's a Curious Obsession that's enchanting a Siren Storm Tamer, you really want to have a dive down or a counterspell in hand to be able to do that. So that makes it really difficult in today's meta. But there's some solutions for that as well. And then the final challenge that we face here, playing tempo in today's with today's cards, is that we don't really have a very good game finisher. It used to be that you would play Tempest Djinn in mono blue, right? And this, by the time you want to play it, and you have the spells to protect it, like very earliest is going to be turn 4, because you want at least a dive down to protect it. But you're probably going to play it later. So by turn 4 in mono blue, this is a 4/4. And already that's a 4/4 for 3 with flying. It's a pretty big threat, and hopefully you've been able to control the board so they have no way to block it or deal with it. We don't really have a card like that. Now, we do have some good threats, but they're not quite as good. They don't scale up quite as fast, and they don't have the evasion and blah, blah, blah. So let's take a look at the threats that we do have. One of our biggest is Brineborn Cutthroat. This is amazing for a Temple Shell. It gives additional value to your counter spells and your ops, your card draws, stuff like that. And it can very quickly get out of control. You can flash it in when your opponent's tapped out, and the following turn attack in, and then when your opponent untaps and try to remove it, then you counter it, get a counter. And that's really hard for them to come back from, because you've basically just done 5 damage and nullified one of their turns. And now they have to deal with this threat, but they're already five life down, so it's pretty big. Another big threat that you could consider running is Nadir Kraken. Whenever you draw a card, it grows by 1 and also adds a 1/1 tentacle creature token, which can either chump or help you go wide to finish out the game. Now, this card is a lot slower than Brineborn Cutthroat. It doesn't have flash, so you can't attack in with it right away. It's hard to allow it to stick without it removing. It's much more similar to Tempest Djinn in the sense that you don't want to play it early, which is why we only have 2 copies in this list here, because you don't want to play it turn 4 or turn 3. You want to play it like turn 5 or 6, and you want to have the lands up. You want to have 5 or 6 lands, which when you're running 22 lands, that's later than turn 5 or 6. That's like turn 7 or 8. So anyway, that's what we're up against. Now you could play other threats like Dream Trawler, right? Like this would be a really great game finisher, but the problem is that it's double white, double blue. So with today's lands, you can't really reliably do that. Also, you would need to run a lot more than 22 lands. And with Dream Trawler, you don't want to run very many copies, especially in a tempo deck. But even, blue-white control runs at maximum 2, and then they rely on card advantage to be able to get there. We don't have the card advantage of blue-white control, and we don't have the land base to be able to play it on turn 6 reliably anyway. So this, I think, is a bad option for us. The other option that's also double white is Archon of Sun's Grace. And this is a card I'm actually interested in experimenting with today, so maybe we'll get there. But it is a problem that it is double white. So again, you need some way to color fix, which we're not quite there. With 22 lands and the land base that we currently have access to in Standard, I don't think that this is really a good idea in tempo. But if you went up to like maybe 24 lands and you run a few Fabled Passage and you do some other things to make this work, it could do well. And we do have a few enough enchantments really to get this to go off a little bit. So that this is a consideration. But again, we're a little bit hampered by the fact that we don't have good lands right now in Standard. So yeah, double white is kind of out of the realm of possibility. So what we really want is we want a primary color, and if we're going to have a secondary color, which we are, then we want to be able to run fewer copies of those colors to prioritize our primary color and have no complicated casting costs. So never more than one white symbol, which is exactly what we have here. We don't have very many white cards, just a total of 10. And there's only one white symbol. So it should be pretty easy to find the color that we need to be able to play it, play those white cards. And also, we don't need the white cards in order to be able to control the game, survive, and maybe even close the game, which I think is very important with today's color base. So what do we have? Let's get into the list a little bit here. We have 4 Aelcid of Life's Bounty. Now this is very good. This is like our replacement Siren Storm Tamer, right? God damn it. I always like confuse that guy's name in my head. So yeah, you can pay 1 mana, sack it to give a creature protection, basically, is really what we're using this for. So that can protect something that you've targeted with a Staggering Insight, but it could also be used to make one of your big threats unblockable. Like throughout the game, maybe you're growing your Brineborn Cutthroat. Well, Aelcid can make it potentially unblockable if your opponent only has creatures of a single color. So that's quite good to be able to finish out the game. We have 2 Spectral Sailor. It kind of sucks to play so few, but I think that because the deck that I've designed is a little bit slow, that's okay. Yeah. We have 2 God's Willing, which is a dead card sometimes, but so was Dive Down, and we all know how good that card was. But just additional protection for your big threats. We're going very heavy into big threats in my list here. It's like, let's not shy away from the fact that we need to play more protection. So when we play a lot of protection, it really makes the cards more valuable that need to be protected, like Nady or Kraken. And the reason why we need so much protection is because the best card that we get in tempo for white, in a white-blue tempo deck, is Staggering Insight, the best card by far, which gives +1/+1 lifelink, and when this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This is such a good card for tempo, but it needs to be protected. Now, Curious Obsession in previous mono blue had a few advantages over this. One is that it was a single mana card. Another is that it was only 1 color. So that's pretty good. But there's some, I mean, Staggering Insight gives lifelink, and you also don't have to attack with the creature or lose the enchantment like you did with Curious Obsession. But yeah, this is by far the best white tempo card that we have in Standard right now. So if you're going to be running this, you need ways to protect it in addition to your normal counter spells, like Aelcid, 1 mana protection, God's Willing, 1 mana protection, also lets you scry. So that's what we're doing. So yeah, this very heavily pushes us towards cards that need protecting, and also flyers. So we do have 2 Fairy Vandal, 2 Spectral Sailor, and 3 Brazen Borrower, so that we can go over the top, maybe, with our Staggering Insight and try to get that card draw off. We have other ways to go off too. We have 4 Ops, just great cantrip, hard to do without this in a tempo deck, especially when you're playing 4 Brineborn Cutthroat. And also 2 Fairy Vandal, which really likes that Opt a lot. So very often you do want to draw cards on your opponent's turn, so the Opt doesn't give the counter in that case, but you know, if you have a Fairy Vandal out, then why not? Opt on your turn, if you know you're going to do it anyway. 3 quench. This is very key for our tempo strategy here. And with blue white, the other options we have available to us, I think are the ones that are worth considering are Dovin's Veto, and the only other one really is Absorb. Absorb is too complicated for us to be able to do that. Save that for blue white control, because they can actually run the lands to turn this on consistently, and we don't care enough about the life gain, honestly, to really want to run Absorb. Dovin's Veto, however, is worth considering, if for no other reason than it's a 2-mana counterspell. I honestly think that Negate in this deck is better here, because Dovin's Veto is really good if you're in a counterspell mirror, but I think that a general like non-creature counterspell is best when hitting planeswalkers like Nissa. So I don't think it really matters that you have Dovin's Veto over Negate. And Negate is really nice here, again, in the current land base that we have, because it only takes 1 blue and 1 colorless. So anyway, 3 quench. 3 Wavebreak Hippocamp. Excuse me. So playing into the theme here that, you know, as long as we're going to be playing lots of protection, then guess what? Cards that need to be protected are suddenly a lot better. So Wavebreak Hippocamp is a great payoff. We like to run lots of card draw anyway, especially for cards like Fairy Vandal. So, you know, Wavebreak Hippocamp turns your opt into draw 2 and turns on Fairy Vandal as well, which is quite good. But I mean, just in general, you're drawing additional cards off Wavebreak Hippocamp. It's very good. 3 Brazen Borrower. Feels a little bit awkward here that this isn't a 4th Brazen Borrower. I have some ideas about what could be changed in order to make that happen. But right now we're a little crowded at 3 CMC, so this is what we have right now. Very good control and a nice clocking threat. Nadir Kraken we already talked about. Thirst for Meaning. Now we have enough enchantments, just that we want to run already, that we can run Thirst for Meaning. So I put 3 of them, which seems like a lot, but it is so good. It is such good card draw. You know, when you're running out of steam, and let's say it's turn 4, you've counterspelled a lot, you've played some threats, you're down to 2 cards, which happens very frequently, then you can Thirst for Meaning on your opponent's turn while bluffing a counterspell in order to be able to find an actual counterspell, which is huge. Even if you can only keep one of the cards, the fact that you get to look at 3 and pick one is so big. And then we have 2 Sinister Sabotage as well. We do need additional counter magic. I prioritize Sinister Sabotage here over like Dovin's Veto or Negate, because it like hits everything, right? This is what we're going to run with for now. I have some thoughts about how I might change this up, but let's just see how we do in a game, maybe 2, and modify from there. Davius. 2 Wavebreak Hippocamps is a little awkward. We do have Spectral Sailor and Staggering Insight, but no way to protect it. I don't like 2 Wavebreak Hippocamp, especially with only 2 lands. I think we're going to mulligan because we don't have enough of a game plan here. This is so much better. I'm very glad I mulliganed. But the question is what to drop. I guess I could drop the Hollowed Fountain, because we're probably going to draw another land, and we don't want to play Wavebreak Hippocamp turn 3 probably anyway. And I'm probably going to opt now. Yeah, let's opt. I kind of want to keep that. Again, we're not going to really want to play it turn 3, but I like guaranteeing that we can. Having more lands is not bad at all, and I'm discovering in tempo right now. There's a lot you can do with more lands. If only this card had flash. I'm afraid that whatever I play eats counter magic, so I'm going to start with Fairy Vandal. Or not counter magic, but control. And yeah, I think out of these cards, Wavebreak Hippocamp is actually the card that, you know, I don't mind dying. So let's play it now and hope that I can get to Quench. Aha! Okay, that was a nice sweeper. It's good to know that they have that now too. But we have plenty of creature restock here. Okay. I'm going to let it resolve because I want the Quench, and we have 3 Brightborn Cutthroat. I want the Quench to be able to protect the Cutthroats. Plus, we can just kill Davriel right now. Let's see. Do I play the land? 5 mana can be quite nice to have. Like, if I were to draw into, like, a Nadir Kraken. But I am revealing that I'm kind of low on cards here. I think I'm going to play it out. I can race that, so I'm going to let it resolve. With 2 Nadir, or 2 Brightborn Cutthroat, I just have to make sure that I hit, damn it, I don't want to reveal that I drew a 5th land. The problem is if they have a land and they play another Cry of Carnarium, then only one of my Brightborn Cutthroat survives. Why did it tap 2 blue there? Now I just reveal I don't have another counterspell. I don't think it's going to matter, but that really sucks. Alright, so now I could bounce Revenge of the Ravens, Knight of the Ebon Legion. I think I want to save Brazen Borrower. They probably won't block here. Bounce Knight of the Ebon Legion and then play out the flyer. I think is my best bet. We'll wait until they dump all their mana into Knight of the Ebon Legion, which they almost certainly will. Unless they have some amazing card I can't anticipate right now. Seems funny to run Cry of the Carnarium with Knight of the Ebon Legion. Rankle. Now I could bounce Knight when they attack and block out Rankle. He doesn't have Trample, so yeah, it would trade. I think that's my best bet, and it grows my Brightborn Cutthroats to be enormous. I think actually I win if I do that. Actually, I don't even need to block rank. Well, they're going to make me sack a creature otherwise. So I think I do need to block Rankle because it's more damage to block him. All right. No, what? Oh, I don't have the mana to do both. Okay. Well, I don't need to bounce Knight of the Ebon Legion anyway. So the most important thing is that I kill Rankle. Staggering Insight doesn't quite do it, but we're going to take the card draw. Not to mention the life gain. Nadir Kraken, okay. Now I really am worried about a Murderous Rider here. Oh, excuse me. That is hilarious. Ugh, an Alcid would have closed the deal for us. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I don't think they have a 1-mana way to give this Death Touch, so I'm going to go in. I have to block. And yeah, let's play out Nadir Kraken. Why not? I mean, the reason why not is that we're presenting lethal, but all they have to do is play another, you know, exactly. Another cheap blocker in order to screw us, so. Yep, we will pay. I don't like not having any protection in my hand whatsoever. Like, for talking up our protection game, we haven't drawn into any of it yet. You know, and it almost feels like we're running too much. 4 Ailsid and 2 God's Willing, but honestly, I kind of think we need 3 God's Willing. Alright, we're not going to play the land. We want them a little bit worried about counter magic. Even though it probably wouldn't change how they play. They probably need to remove stuff if they can. Okay. They're playing just the clock us slowly strategy here. God's Willing. It doesn't close out the game, but it's so close. Because if I attack, let's see, if I attack with a tentacle, it doesn't counteract the revenge of ravens. But it does let us get in for 5, which will put them down to 3, basically. Or I can just attack and get in for 3, which will put them down to 5 life, because I'll attack with 2 things. And then they'll have to block with Cauldron Familiar, and then I hold up God's Willing as protection. I think that's the best thing, actually, is to just keep it as protection. Oh, it's 4 damage, actually. Yeah, I think the play's the same, though. And I might actually play out this island. I'll still be holding a card to bluff some kind of counter magic. But it could be really useful so that I can scry and God's Willing. Scry 3 times, basically. I don't know. Is the bluff better? Nah, let's do this. Quench is actually not quite dead here because they are still on 5. I don't know, though. What I really want is Aelcid or another God's Willing so I can just go in for the kill. Or a Brazen Borrower. There's a lot here I could draw. There's Aelcid. Alright, I think that's game. No stick. Yeah, we'll keep the Brazen Borrower just in case this doesn't do it. Boom. Okay. I think that showed off pretty well what we're trying to do with this deck. So that was just one game, but already it's confirmed some thoughts that I had. One of them is, I don't think it has enough counter magic. I don't know if we can fix that right away, but the other one is, and maybe it's just my bias against Wavebreak Hippocamp, but I don't really like the card. I mean, you can't really play it on time. It's going to be really hard to protect. And even though we do have quite a bit of 1-mana protection, it's still maybe not quite enough to like Wavebreak Hippocamp. So let's cut it. An idea I have 2 ideas. One is run additional counter magic. So that could be 2 times Thassa's Oracle and maybe a Dovin's Veto. Or it could be, instead of a Dovin's Veto, a Negate. The other option that I have is play Archon of Sun's Grace, maybe 2 of. But the problem is that we've just taken out one of our enchantments. So then the only thing that's triggering Archon of Sun's Grace is 4 Staggering Insight and 4 Aelcids. So that's maybe not quite enough to play this on the top end. Like if I were to take out Thirst for Meaning and instead play Omen of the Sea, then that would be better. But then Fairy Vandal is devalued a little bit because it's going to be a lot less likely that we're drawing our second card off of Omen of the Sea than Thirst for Meaning, which is guaranteed. If you cast that, that's your second card. Which maybe is okay. Like maybe we wouldn't miss dropping Fairy Vandal. The other caveat here is if we play Archon of Sun's Grace, I think we need to play more lands so that we can get away with playing Fable Passage and Tempo. But it's slower, so I'm kind of hesitant to do that. So for now, let's just run with 2 Thassa's Intervention, and let's go with a Negate. This is a very threatening hand, but it's got almost no control. It has Brazen Borrower. I like the lands, though. I'm going to keep it. Ah, but it's red. Of course it's red. Whenever I get a hand that I'm like... I hope it's not red. It's always red. Which is just a lesson. Like, if you hope it's not red, don't keep the dang hand. This actually is probably worth chumping here. All right. Well, at least we have Quench now. That's really good, actually. That improves this hand significantly. Let's hope they tap out so I can play Brineborn Cutthroat. Now, I could bounce that if I wanted to make sure I got Brineborn Cutthroat in, but that's really slow. So it would be really slow to still not play... Yeah, I think I gotta Quench it. Which really sucks, because that means I don't have a plan for Embercleave other than to leave Brazen Borrower open. I'm kind of considering shocking in for Nadir Kraken here, because then that means next turn they have to spend removal to kill it, which will slow down their strategy a little bit. And if they don't remove it, then that's really terrible for them. Torbran, okay. That was kind of what I was afraid of, but I can bounce Torbran. Ah, God's willing. Do I pay? What I really want is to bounce Torbran and then counterspell it. So I think I only need 2 mana. It means I'm not leaving up God's Willing. But Nadir Kraken's at 4 now, and I don't think they play Lava Coil. Well, Shock actually does 4 damage, doesn't it? If they shock me, I can bounce Torbran then, and then they don't have enough lands to replan unless I have the 5th land, which seems pretty unlikely right now. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Watch him shock. It's gonna be the exact play. Okay, good. They can't replay him. So now I bounce. That only does 2 damage. They could have a shock, but honestly, that's a lot of damage that's not going at my face, and I would consider that a success. Okay. We still in there. We got to deal with that Torbran, but we have the means to do it. But we didn't draw a land, though, so I have to not pay. Shit. That's not good. I really wanted a land there. If we counterspell Torbran, then we can block out Anax safely, though, and chump Fervent Champion if we want. We probably won't, but we could. All right. We're on the Sinister Sabotage plan here, and then we will have controlled out the game very successfully. Oh my god, they drew a 6th land. They're probably going to play Bone Crusher Giant because they know I have a counterspell. Okay, no. They're going for it because that's their strategy. They have to play it. They have to hope I don't have it. But I do. I want another counterspell, please. Oh, or a 4th land, but it's Shock land? No, we don't want a 4th land that bad. All right. Do I keep paying? If I don't pay, I can Brineborn Cutthroat and hold up God's Willing, which seems very good. So yeah, I'm gonna decline. I really want another land eventually. I could also Thirst for Meaning in order to try to get to it. But I think we really need to hold up just some kind of control here. Okay. Hard Casting Light up the stage for an Embercleave that they can't play. Oh, they can play. Never mind. They have a land. But they're not going to. Makes sense. Now, I could Brineborn Cutthroat and Opt. Oh, or I can Combat Trick out the Anax. Opt now. Grow this by 1. Kill that mofo. They do get 2 1/1s. I could also God's Willing, but I think I'd rather do the Opt Combat Trick. Yeah. Yes, please. I want that land. All right, they're going a little bit wide, but we can match them. So I think we're okay with that. We need our ways to go over the top, though. We don't have any of our flying creatures or anything yet. All right, finally, I can safely play this, or pay this cost, and still have lots of mana up. Let's see. I don't have a plan for their Embercleave. I could give Nadir Kraken protection and kill, let's say, Bone Crusher Giant when they cleave him. That's my best plan so far. All right, it's past the turn. This is not going the best, honestly. I mean, we've done a good job of controlling out so far, but we're not closing the game. which is a problem because they're going to be able to draw into like more Embercleaves and stuff. Um, 4, 5, 6 if I don't block any of them. So I take 6 damage in this way if they put Embercleave on Fervent Champion, but then I've shut down the whole rest of their board. If they put Embercleave on Bonecrusher Giant, which they're likely to do to try to kill Nadir Kraken and get through with a lot of damage, then I combat trick them out and they fucked. Pretty sure. So they do 5, so they would still get in for 4, 8. They'd still get in for 8 damage, which would put me at 4, but then we can hopefully control the game from there. I don't know. This is a little bit risky. I should probably block the Fervent Champions because it prevents so much damage. But it just, the problem is that it makes these better Embercleave targets. What are you targeting? Bonecrusher, please. Yes. Wunderbar. Nope. That does go over the top, but it's way too slow. We do have a Brazen Borrower. We just haven't been able to play it yet. I should have put my Brineborn Cutthroat down first, so I grew it by 1. That was a mistake. Oh, we kill it on first strike damage. Wait, why didn't it go over the top there? This has double strike. How did it die right away? I guess that's how protection works. Okay, today I learned. Yeah, good game. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're going to try to do one more game. We didn't see any of our new cards at all, so although that was a fun game, I want to do at least one more before we shake it up again. Mr. Geode. Oh my god, all blue. But it's got our new cards. It does have a little bit of control and card draw. So I'm going to keep it just for the sake of getting to play with Thassa's Intervention. The problem with Thassa's Intervention is it is a terrible early game control card. Like, you can play it on turn 3. And it can be useful, but it's not likely. Like, it doesn't really turn on until turn 4. Okay. Well, they probably take Thassa's Intervention here or Thirst for Meaning. Sucks being on the draw on a tempo deck. Not that I could have really done anything about it except for play Fairy Vandal. There's an Opt. Maybe we'll be able to get to some white mana. Which doesn't really matter yet because we don't have anything worth protecting, but it would be nice to have it down. We might just actually drop Aelcid when we play Thirst for Meaning. But they're going to have 2 blue now. Yeah, I'd be worried about Sinister Sabotage trying to play Thirst for Meaning. But I think we have to take the risk anyway. Yeah, we're going to take that. Ooh, Staggering Insight, though. Oh, God. They have a hand hate, so if I don't play Staggering Insight now, it could be a problem. But if I do without a means to protect it, it could also be a problem. I mean, we only have one card they haven't seen. Let's play it out. And next turn we can Staggering Insight Spectral Sailor and be able to protect it a little bit. I have only one card they haven't seen. So unless they really wanted to get rid of something in my hand, I don't think that they would. I mean, sure, whatever. I'll just give this protection from red. Okay, so now we don't have protection for it anymore, but whatever. Now, if I play Staggering Insight this turn, it could draw me a Quench. Let's try it. We kind of are out of options. I think that's worth playing untapped here. Means we can't do as big of a Thassa's Intervention next turn. We can't do anything about that. It's a good thing I played Staggering Insight, though. That's what I was worried about. Like, if I held on to it and waiting till I had protection, then they could just get thought erased. Okay, they're taking our card draw, which is very wise of them. I'm thinking this is like a Nicol Bolas kind of deck, where it's just like total control until you get to Nicol Bolas. And I think they're digging through to find him still. Okay, so we have a big Thassa's Intervention next turn. So they can't, there's not very much that they can play that we can't counterspell. Is there a reason to play untapped here, though? Because we could counterspell and make them pay up to 4 mana for a spell, which only really matters if they have another land and a 2-mana way to remove Spectral Sailor. Let's attack first. Yeah, I think it's worth playing untapped here. We do miss out on the Scribe, but that's okay. So Staggering Insight really coming in handy right now. I can just Brazen Borrower this, so yeah, we'll let it resolve.
I know 88 ways to speak with thoughtfulness before action.
Chandra. What the fuck? I mean, they can replay, yeah, they can replay these. Oh, so they have a lot of like 2-mana spells. Interesting. See, do I want the card draw? I think I just want to go fast. Yeah. So I'm just going to try to clock them. I think we want to counterspell that Chandra if they try to play it. It might matter, so I'm going to play untapped. It might matter if I need to opt to something. If they play, yeah, Narset again, we just let it resolve. But now I can opt. I could also draw a card off of Spectral Sailor, but then I can't counterspell anything. So yeah, I'll opt before they put it down. Ooh, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. We can still counterspell. Well, no, we can't. Okay, well, they don't have anything to play anyway. Let's draw. See if we can find the cards to close out this game. Quench isn't really going to cut it at this stage in the game. Fairy Vandal sounds good. God's Willing sounds good. Another Staggering Insight. We're going to wait to play that. Nope. Pretty good showing from this deck so far. This is going to be our 3rd win if all this stuff stays on the board. So if we... Well, we still have lethal. So yeah, we let this resolve. I think it's okay for the Spectral Sailor to die. Okay. Yeah, I think they were just trying to play Chandra and then replay some more creature removal. And they forfeited because they realized that we had a counterspell. So we were deciding, they knew we were deciding to counterspell Angrath's Rampage or counterspell their Chandra. All right, so I quite like that in that configuration, but there is one more that I did want to try out. So let's give it a shot, and that would be playing with Archon of Sun's Grace on the top end. So there's a few problems with Archon of Sun's Grace. One is it's 4 mana, the other one is double white. So to fix that, let's run 3 Fabled Passage, and let's run an additional Temple of Enlightenment. Okay, so if I'm going to do this, then I need to play some more enchantments, because I took out Wavebreak Hippocamp, which I still think is the right choice. So instead, I think a card draw spell, subbing out some card draw spells, and the 2 that I'm thinking of are Omen of the Sea and Madoma's Prophecy. Oops. These are the 2 that I'm thinking of. Omen of the Sea is a great card, obviously. Madoma's Prophecy I'm a little more drawn to, since it can do so much for us over so many turns. Like, in terms of value, it's very good over time, and it also will draw 2, so it will trigger Fairy Vandal, even if it's, you know... Yeah, it'll trigger Fairy Vandal. Omen of the Sea, however, could put a counter on Brineborn Cutthroat. It is a nice thing to do with mana that you've held up for other reasons. What do we cut, though? I think we cut maybe Nadir Kraken. Because this is a kind of different go wide over the top strategy that is better if we can make it work in 2 colors with our land choices in standard right now, which aren't very wonderful. And we cut some other form of card draw. Maybe an opt. Seems really hard though to cut opt. Oof. This spell has to be cast on your turn, and we like to be able to flash in cards and hold up mana. So for that reason, for that reason, I think Omen of the Sea is the obvious choice. But what do we cut? This is really hard. I think maybe no Fairy Vandal. Go down and opt. Ooh. And, oh god, a God's Willing. And I don't even think this is enough Omen of the Sea, to be honest. I kind of think we need more enchantments. We only have 10 enchantments with 3 Archon of Sun's Grace. Let's get rid of an Archon of Sun's Grace and go up in Omen. Let's try this. I don't know that this is going to be as good, but I'm curious if we can see how Archon of Sun's Grace plays in this deck. Oh, you know what? Because we're more committed to white, hold on a second. Because we're more committed to white, we should actually run Dovin's Veto instead of negate. All right, that was an important change. I'm glad I went back for that. Could even maybe, hold on a second, could even maybe drop Thassa's Intervention for another Dovin's Veto. I think I like that better in this particular deck. Maybe even Absorb could work instead of Dovin's Veto. It's 3 mana though. Nah, let's go with 2 Dovin's Vetoes. We're gonna try this. I'm honestly not confident to have a 4 mana top end double white. I'm not confident, but I do want to see how this plays. Of course we draw 2. I mean, we have the mana fixing, but it's slow, so already we're seeing what this can do to an opening hand. I kind of want to keep it just because we want to see how this plays, but, you know, it's going to be a very inaccurate representation if I keep a dumbass hand like that. So let's mulligan. This is a much better hand. I think we drop Omen of the Sea here. Of course, it's mono red. I'm going to keep that because I don't have to shock in to have 2 mana next turn, which could be really important. Oh, okay. This is a kind of different mono red list. Now, if I played Aelcid, they might just remove it. I think what I want to do is play Brangborn Cutthroat. It's going to be a second. I mean, I can bounce it. I'm trying to think of what my long-term strategy is here. I'm going to hold up 2 mana and then probably bounce Underworld Ragehound, but we'll see what they play. So I'm thinking is that if they play something like Annex, I'd rather bounce that. You know what? I'm going to take it. And I'm going to go to either Brineborn Cutthroat or Brazen Borrow, depending on what they play. What do you got? Well, that's a Brineborn Cutthroat. It's too bad I didn't have a counterspell for that. Staggering Insight. I could put this on Brineborn Cutthroat so that it trades with Bonecrusher Giant, draws me a card, and gives me lifelink. They probably won't block with it, though. Which would put me at 13 next turn if they don't play anything else, which they almost certainly will. They could Embercleave even next turn. My other option is I could play Aelcid now, shock in Brazen Borrow or Underworld Ragehound, and or a Bonecrusher if they did try to Embercleave. And then that way I have the ability to play Staggering Insight next turn and protect it with Aelcid. But I can do that next turn anyway without shocking in, actually. So let's not shock in. Let's just pass the turn. It's kind of a funny red list. I want to declare no blockers and see if they'll put Embercleave on Bonecrusher Giant. Because then we would bounce it for sure. So, no blocks. Yeah, boy. Okay. We want them to target Bonecrusher Giant first. Alright, we still take 2 and +3, so it's not like we're out of the woods here by any means. So they can pay 3 mana to put Embercleave on Enderworld Ragehound, but then we could block it out and trade with Brindborn Cutthroat. Could we? It'll have First Strike. With Ailsid I could, yeah. And I think I even put Staggering Insight on Brindborn Cutthroat, but I don't attack. Galaxy Brain plays right here. So now it has lifelink. Okay. They have to attack. All right. Let's get another blue source here. I think we are okay with attacking in. I mean, we get the lifelink. I kind of want to Thirst for Meaning or Opt first, though. Because what if we drew a God's Willing, an Ailsid, a Brazen Borrower? There's a lot of cards that we could draw that would improve this play here. Ooh. And Ailsid is like exactly what we wanted. So if we pop Ailsid... Yeah. Okay. Let's decline. We're going to drop a Fabled Passage. Oh, I have to discard 2. Let's drop an Opt as well, because we might want that Archon. So now, if they block, we kill their 1/1 token, and we gain 4 life. If they don't block, we still gain 4 life and draw a card. Boom. Alright, we're in a pretty good position here. They could pump their token in order to do a bunch of damage to our face, but we've gained so much life right now that that doesn't matter. Without that life gain, honestly, we wouldn't be in this position. So Staggering Insight has been pretty huge. No blocks. It already has Double Strike, so it's just 6 damage right now. See if they have another pump. Okay, they do. That's a lot of damage, but we have lifelink. Okay, ooh, okay. So we have a lot of options here. We can even play out Archon of Sun's Grace. We don't have any enchantments to do anything with that, but it does block out the Dwarf token, and that's pretty much game right there. Let's just leave up a Chumper. All right, good game. Wow. Wish I had more enchantments. I mean, this will kill Archon of Sun's Grace if I block, but not if I pop Ailsid, so yeah, let's do that. Boom. Scroak Brindborn Cutthroat also allows me to maybe draw towards another enchantment with Spectral Sailor. Yeah, let's do it now. Okay, no enchantment, but that is a counter spell, but it doesn't hit very much, but that's okay. Now they could block out Brindborn Cutthroat here. I lose my Staggering Insight, but I gain a ton of life. And I remove their Underworld Ragehound, which I think is very hard for them to come back from. Because what they actually ideally want to do here is Embercleave, Underworld Ragehound, so they probably don't even block. 8. Can I afford to go in then? I mean, I'm gaining 8 life. I'm at 23. They put this there. I'm down to 13. And then some with Goblin Banneret. Actually, both of these are very good Embercleave targets, aren't they? I'm going to chump with Spectral Sailor. But do I want to leave behind another blocker? Any blocker I leave behind will die to Embercleave before it can kill it, though. So, yeah, let's do this. And then I can maybe play this Brineborn just as a chumper. If I want to. I can also put down Brazen Borrower to just clock them. Oh, hey, there's a better chumper. Oh, yeah, they have to main phase choose their target as well. That's really good for us. So we just take it in the face. Actually, we chump out Goblin Banneret. And then we win. Good game. All right. Wow. Well, that was 3 versions of the same list with some very minor alterations. Personally, I think my favorite version might have even been the 3rd one. Might have even been this one. I was really skeptical about Archon of Sun's Grace, like being able to provide value. We didn't even get any triggers off of it. But the fact that it's a 3/4, 4 being a very key number in today's meta, doesn't play around Storm's Wrath, but it does around a lot of mono red stuff, and mono red's so popular. This giving lifelink, you know, it's just really good. So I think you can actually do it with 23 lands. We didn't get that land screwed. We only played 1 game, so it's hard to tell. We did have the mulligan though, and we still won against mono red. So I don't know. I mean, I think actually this 3rd version is my favorite version. Not 100% sold on the Dovin's Veto. Maybe this would still be better as negate. But against like Azorius Control or Esper Control or something, this could be quite useful and gives us a little bit of possibility to survive against them, since threats like this aren't as big of a deal to them as it would be against Mono Red, for example. Anyway, that was this experiment with blue-white tempo. I had a lot of fun playing around with this, and it was a cool conversation on Reddit, so I thought I'd make a video. Let me know if you have any suggestions for this list or decks that I should play in the future. If you have any comments, I love to hear them. Please leave a like, consider subscribing. It helps out a lot to ensure that other people get to see the video. And I will catch you in the next deck.